Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over the World Championships of Warhammer for Kill Team. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you think of the World Championships. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, an affiliate link and discount code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, today I'm going over the World Championships of Warhammer. This is the yearly big event for Games Workshop, run by Games Workshop, which, you know, has players from around the world competing effectively, kind of like a Warhammer Olympics, as Games Workshop likes to say. So this is their third year. I will be playing third year in a row. The first was in New Mexico, then last year was in Atlanta, and we're back in Atlanta again. And the only way you can play in this event, so there's two components. You've got the grand narrative happening, which is also happening at Warhammer World this year simultaneously. But you've got the main World Championships of Warhammer, which you can only enter if you've won a golden ticket from a golden ticket qualifying event. So it's more of a refined pool of players, although it's not as competitive an event as you would actually think it would be. But let me go over it all today because the pods were announced around like 4 a.m. UK time. So we have the breakdown of all the pods, all the players and all the factions. This was done by Sawyer, so thanks goes to him. He's on the Command Point Discord and a lot of Discords. He ran Chaos Demons, notably, and did the similar thing last year. So all of these are his images, and without his help, none of this would have been possible. So thank you goes to Sawyer. So let's get into it more. So breaking down the pods, there's about 93 players this year, I think, where there was like, I think they said something like 40 players might not have turned up. I don't know, but 93 players is still a lot. It's one of the bigger turnouts for Warhammer, more than last year. I think last year we were around maybe 40, 50 players, I think, something like that. Although the largest Kill Team event we've had is still LVO of this year, which has like some 131 players. So that's still the record, but it's still a decent chunk. And effectively on the Thursday and Friday next week, each player will play 3 games of 3 hours, and then the winner from each pod of 8 will go into a top 8 event, and then after 4 games, 2 games on the Saturday, 2 games on the Sunday, there will be one winner who will be the World Championship of Warhammer for Kill Team. They are doing one for 40k, Sigmar and Underworlds, but I'm going over the Kill Team part. And I think each pod basically has 12 players pretty much, spread out quite evenly. The only main rules are round 1 at least. You can't play anyone from your own country. There is a little bit of confusion because originally they said you would never play your countrymen unless you had to, but now they've just said round 1, so I'm pretty sure it's only round 1. There might be an FAQ. Who knows? What a mystery thing. And there's other rules going on. But it's interesting because originally it was going to be 4 rounds, so 2 rounds on this Thursday and Friday of 4 hours each. But they're 3 hours because people complained and Games Workshop listened, which is good. Although I would have preferred just not 3-hour rounds, but 3-hour rounds are better than 4-hour rounds because last year I had to play 4-hour rounds and even a 5-hour round, which is not fun. That's not fun at all. We do have some like split time devices in use. So there are chess clock rules at this official Warhammer event. But effectively, that's the main format. And if you don't make the top 8 on the Saturday and Sunday, you still play and you're basically always earning points for your country. So you can still win the event, but like depending on how well you do from your scoring, your faction score, and like where you actually place overall, you can earn points towards your country. So it's more kind of about a team effort. So even if you don't win, you can play to make your country do better, which is nice. So with the core format rules done pretty much, let's get on to pairing because the pairings are pretty fun. So I'll bring them up, and starting off with Group 1. So in Group 1, we have Adrian Bonavento. He is the ITC champion for last year, one of the Brooklyn American heroes. He's running Hyrotech Circle. Then we've got Devin Menz with an interesting team name. He's running Angels of Death. As you can see, you've got the player name, the ITC ranking faction type and pod number. He's from Canada. Then we've got Felipe Gallardo running Mandrakes from Chile. Then we've got Fernando Andrade with Commandos from Mexico. Then we've got Janice with her Plague Marines from America. Then you've got myself with Legionary from Wales, the Great Wales. I represented Wales last year. It was a lot of fun. I somehow placed higher than 2 other countries. It was amazing. So Wales all the way. Next year, I think I'll do Philippines. Then we've got Mikey Hood with his Blooded from Argentina, although he might be from Australia because he's got this Australian tag name. Then you've got Robert Nichols with Blades of Cain from America. Then you've got Sebastian del Castillo with Hearthkin Salvagers from Argentina. Then you've got Shane from Command Point with Hierotech Circle from America. Then you've got Shane Price from the UK with Inquisitorial Agents. And then you've got Tom from the UK with, well, England from Inquisitorial Agents. So the interesting thing is, technically because I've picked Wales, I think there's a good chance I still play English people round one, which we'll find out. But it's an interesting pod. I will say I am very happy I somehow ended up in the only pod as the only Legionary player, which is great for me. Everyone else probably not so happy. We have no Warp Coven in this pod, which is great, although it's like really tough. So like I've played Shane twice. He won the first time, I won the second time. So it's very, very close. And then Adrian I've actually never been able to beat. So those are the people I've played the most. But it's an interesting pod. It's like we got a nice mix. We've got 2 Hierotech Circle, 1 Blades of Cain, 1 Hearthkin, 2 Inquisitor Agents, 1 Mandrake, 1 Commando, 1 Plague Marines. We've got like 2 Hierotech Circle and 1 Angels of Death, which is really like honorable because it's the only Angels of Death. So that's a really fun pod. I'm kind of glad I'm in this pod. It's nice. It's a nice welcoming pod for number 1. And the interesting thing, because we're playing 6 rounds, after round 4, you will be undefeated. But if you lose round 5 or 6, you could actually end up not winning the pod. So it's going to be quite weird to see how things play out. Then in pod 2, please look, I'm trying my best with the names, okay? We've got Alejandro Jimenez with his Phobos Strike Team from Mexico. Then we've got Ben from Kill Team Casuals with his Legionary from America. Then we've got Brandon Bean with Blooded from America. Then we've got Dylan Welts with Legionary from America. Then we've got Emily Birdsley with Legionary from America. Then we've got Ace with Warp Coven from Spain. Then we've got Franco Real with Hierotech Circle from Argentina. Then we've got Guy from London, England, with Hierotech Circle. Then we've got Sam from Australia with Blooded. And then we've got Sebastian Jamie with Warp Coven from Chile. And then we've got Tom Catchaside from England with Phobos Strike Team. And then Vivek Ramesh with Warp Coven from Canada. So this is a more elite-dominated pod because you've got 3 Legionary and 2 Warp Coven. And then you've got Phobos Strike Team and Phobos Strike Team again. I feel for the Blooded players. I mean, it's not the worst pod they could be in. Once again, 2 Hierotech Circle. Guy's really good. I know him. I've played him a lot. And obviously everyone knows who Ace is. Sam's also from Australia and really good there. And like Vivek did really well. He's as in like he... I think came second at LVO this year with his Veteran Guardsman. Now playing Warp Coven because Deathcore aren't doing that great at the moment. But it's a very murderous pod. It's definitely a category for what we like to call the Death Pod, which is the pod where it's just pure hell. But it's very, very elite. So it's definitely one of the elite pod. Then for pod number 3, we have Alberto Lungomez with Legionary from Mexico. Then we have Alexandra Salazar with Farstalker Kinband from America. Then we have Bart from the UK, London, with Void Dancer Troop. Interestingly, if you put yourself as UK, does that actually count as a different country? Anyway, then you've got Carlos with Inquisitorial Agents from Spain. Then you've got Christian Leighton with Legionary from Chile. Then you've got Franco Emiliosi Reguera with Warp Coven from Argentina. You've got Kellen with Hierotech Circle from America. Then you've got Coley with Void Dancer Troop from Canada. And then you've got Matthew Surridge with Phobos Strike Team from England. Nestor from America with Hand of the Archon. Orion with Fast Talker Kinband from America. Then we've got Taz Jorf from Australia with his Wormblades. This is actually a really tough pod. If anything, this might be the death pod. Bart's very good. He's one of the best players in the UK. Carlos is obviously very, very good. He was at the first World Championships of Warhammer and is currently rank 1 in ITC. And then you've got Orion. He's a very, very good American player. He won the first World Championships of Warhammer 3 years ago and won the 2023 LVO. So he's very, very good. That's like, and you've got Kellen as well. There's so many good players in this pod, and it's actually really varied. The interesting thing, you've got 2 Kroots. So people are like, you can't put Kroot in the death pod. And I was like, that's why it's so deadly. It's just interesting. And the craziest thing is both of the Kroot players are American, which is like, wow, this is really cool. That is, although it's still a horrible pod to play in, it's like really, really tough, but a nice spread. Then for pod 4, you've got Christopher Scott Bloor from the UK with Plague Marines. Then you've got Dakota, from Squad Games with his Death Corps of Krieg. Spoilers, the only Death Corps from America. Then you've got Javier Escu with his Legionary from Spain. Then you've got Kevin Starr with Plague Marines from America. Then you've got Liam Bladwell with Inquisitorial Agents from Australia. You've got Lucas Hrubisic with Legionary from Argentina. Then you've got Luis Machua with Elucidian Star Striders from Chile. Then you've got Matt Therian with Hearthkin Salvages from Canada. I was wrong again about Canadians, ignore me. Then you've got Matt Godlington with Legionary from England. Then you've got Matt Wilhelm with Legionary from America. Mike Cortez with Inquisitorial Agents from America. And then you've got Nick Collins from the UK. Well, he's representing New Zealand. He plays in London with Plague Marines. I was talking to Nick today. He was very happy about his pod. He's got four Legionary. That's the Legionary pod. Plague Marines, you've got 3 Plague Marines, 4 Legionary, and then 2 Inquisitorial Agents. The only thing this pod is missing is Warp Coven. I pray for Dakota. I mean, Dakota is aware of like the meta, and it's like he's the one I back the most because he knows what's going to happen with his Death Corps, but he's standing by his team. It's not a great pod to be in. Let's say it's very elite. It's definitely the Chaos pod. I would say. But it's fine. It's all fine. Then for pod 5, we have Dylan Gill with his Hearthkin Salvages from America. We have Eric Croyer with Phobos Strike Team from America. Then we have Francois Linouette with his Void Dancer Troop from France. Then we've got George Armour with his Warp Coven from Canada. Then we've got James Cosgrove with Corsair Voidsguard from Australia. Then we've got Javier with his Hunterclade from Peru. He's the one who provided all of this for us. Then you've got Jeshua Kelly with his Legionary from America. Then you've got Juanpi Rodriguez with his Exaction Squad from Argentina. Then you've got Albert Cortez with his Legionary from Spain from the Kill Team Battle App. Then you've got Leander Garrett with his Warp Coven from America. Then you've got Santiago Barrera with his Blooded from Colombia. Then you've got Serkan with his Warp Coven from England, also a very good London player. So this is not a great pod. It's tough. These pods are like really tough. Jeshua's very, very good. I know he's been playing quite a lot recently, really well in terms of like the past few months. He's won a lot of events. Serkan won in France to get his ticket. Leander's very good as well. Like George also has just come off of winning the New York Open about 2 weeks ago. And then Dylan's good with his Hearthkin Salvages as well. So this is like really, really tight. Like everyone in that pod is effectively very, very good. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. Although it's got an interesting spread, you still have 2 Legionary, but you've got Exaction Squad in there, and you've got Void Dancer Troop, you've got Corsair Voidsguard, right? But you've got a nice mix, although you do have 2 Warp Coven. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out of that one on top. Then for pod 6, we've got Aidan Clinton with Warp Coven from Australia. We've got Alejandro Sperano with Imperial Navy Breaches from Argentina. I hope he read the FAQ before selecting his faction. Then you've got Alexander Arthur with his Warp Coven from America. You've got Chris Chicken Wing Backy. He was actually at the first World Championships of Warhammer as well, with his Inquisitorial Agents from America. Then we've got Jason Steinke with Warp Coven from America. Then we've got Jonathan Solly with Novitiates from England. And then we've got Juan Sebastian Quinch with Void Dancer Troop from Colombia. Then we've got Mateusz with Inquisitorial Agent from Poland. Then we've got Matt Opperman with Plague Marines from America. We've got Matthew Richard with Commandos from France. And then we've got Pablo Palace with Warp Coven from Spain. So this is also a very tough pod. You have a lot of very, very good players. You've got 2 very good Inquisitor Agent players as well. Pray for the Breacher player. Just Just pray. But novitiates are in there. Oddly, the only novitiates at the event. It seems, we'll get to that later when I go over factions. We've also got commandos. So this is, I think there's actually there's no legionary in this pod. So pod 6 managed to escape all the legionary. Although it's kind of interesting, going to be quite interesting to see how like the Inquisitor agents make it out of this pod, because Warp Coven is kind of a good counter into Inquisitor agents, and there's 2 of them. But I don't know. I think Void Dancer Troop has some play. It's going to be interesting. This is another pod where it's like it's too difficult to say who's going to come out on top here. Then in pod 7, we've got Alexa with Inquisitor agent from Australia. He's the current world champion of Warhammer for Kill Team. Then we've got Asia Ibranes de Metsu with Legionary from Spain. We've got Augustin Boluche with Inquisitor Agents from France. Then we've got Brett Bouchard with Corsair Voice Guard from America. Then we've got Carlos Burmeister with Corsair Voice Guard, also from Uruguay, sorry. And then you've got Dan Barton from with Warp Coven from the UK. Very good London player. He actually was supposed to make it last year but couldn't, so he's back this year, which is really good. You've got Eric Isaacs with Brood Brothers from America. You've got Jason from Just Another Kill Team podcast with his Phobos Strike Team from America. You've got Lucas Lemon with his Corsair Void Guard from Germany. Then you've got Ratman from Argentina with his Bladed back again. And then you've got Voyan Jarek with his Warp Coven from Canada. So this is an interesting pod. For some reason, it has 3 Corsair Void Guard. There's a lot of Eldari pirates there. But also, this is a very tough pod. You've got Alexa, you've got Augustin, and you've got Dan. Very, very good, as well as like Jason, like the master of Phobos. So this is like really tight. That's a very tough pod. It's like... It's interesting how these pods were done. We don't know how they were done, but very interesting. This is going to be quite a bloody one. It's going to be interesting. Then in the final pod 8, we've got Alejandro Netra with Legionary from Spain. You've got Benjamin Macmillan with Mandrakes from America. You've got Christine Holtham with Warp Coven from Australia. You've got Drew Powell with Inquisitor Agents from America. You've got Ernesto Pugliese with Farstalker Kinband from Italy. I believe this is the legendary Farstalker Kinband player. I think he's been playing them ever since they came out. Then you've got Jimmy Kelly, currently ranked number 2 in the world with Legionary from America. You've got Michael Burke with Hyrotech Circle from Australia. Rafael Ramil with Nemesis Claw from Uruguay. And then you've got Remy Durand with Tempestus Aquilans from France. And you've got Ryan from Turning Point Tactics with the Inquisitor Agents from England. So this is also a very interesting pod. Like Jimmy and Ryan are the most known from those pods, like doing very well competitively. But Remy's also really good. It's interesting. I thought he was going to go Warp Coven, but he's the only Tempestus Aquilans, which might work out because, you know, competitively we kind of view like Tempestus Aquilans like they can't play too well because, you know, you just wait them out for 2 turns, then you commit Turning Point 3 and 4. But maybe he's gotten around that, and also a lot of people probably haven't played into them. Then you've just got we still got Warp Cover, and there's a lot of Legionary around, Hyrotech Circle, oddly Nemesis Claw. I think the only Nemesis Claw, I can't remember. And yeah, you've still just got a lot of Inquisitor Agents as well. And you've got Mandrakes. So this is a very interesting pod. It's going to be, well, they're all interesting, right? But this could be quite the bloody one as well. So now you've seen the pods. Remember, one person from each of those pods will then go into the Saturday and Sunday final, where the top 8 basically play, and the winner of that top 8 brawl will be the world champion. So it's going to be very, very interesting how that plays out. We will be playing on Volcus and Gallo Dark only, so only those 2 kill zones. I'm sorry, Beta Decima, you did not make it. You did not survive, you sank. But now I've covered the pods, let's go over the factions. So once again, done by Sawyer, we've got 6 Hyrotech Circle players, we've got 14 Warp Coven players, 15 Legionary players, 5 Phobos Strike Team, 1 Imperial Navy, 11 Inquisitorial Agents, 3 Farstalker Kinband, 4 Void Dancer Troop, 2 Mandrakes, 5 Blooded, 4 Corsair Void Scarred, 5 Plague Marines, 1 Death Corps, 1 Angels of Death, 3 Halfkin Salvagers, 2 Commandos, 1 Hunterclade, 1 Novitiates, 1 Exaction Squad, 1 Elucidine Star Striders, 1 Hand of the Archon, 1 Nemesis Claw, 1 Tempestus Aquilans, 1 Blades of Cain, and 1 Wormblade. So it's actually quite the interesting spread. Like, I mean, some people were shocked by how many Inquisitor agent players there are. I wasn't. I thought it might even been higher than this. Legionary being basically just the most popular is not too much of a surprise. Warp Coven just behind isn't as well. They've been dominating events. Technically, they're the best performing faction at the moment. They've been doing very, very well. And like technically with that trifecta, it's a good representation of what people think the three best factions of the game at the moment. Then you've got Hierotech Circle as the fourth most popular faction. Very, very good. As I said, they have a lot of counter meta play, especially in stuff like Plague Marines. Then we've got 5 Plague Marines, which were annoyingly made legal a day after they came out. So it's just kind of like, I don't think they should have been legal, but whatever. Then you've got 5 Blooded and 5 Phobos strike teams. So Phobos being like the shadow pick for elites. And like, I'm not too surprised by Blooded. Blooded technically have a great play into most elites because they have so many threats that they can afford to throw away a bit and kind of are designed to. So that's not too surprising there. Then we have 4 Void Dancer Troop and 4 Corsair Void Guard. So Corsair Void Guard are Grace Elite Hunters in general, so they should play quite well. The main problem they have is into Inquisitor agents who just kind of completely deconstruct them. And then you've got 4 Void Dancer Troop. And now, if you've watched my last video about how to beat elites, you shouldn't be too surprised at Void Dancer Troop. They're kind of a good shadow pick. They get around Inquisitor agents because a lot of their key ploys are triggered for free by their players once per turning point. So the Inquisitorial agents struggle to block all of that, and there's not many key ploys they need to block in terms of during the strategy phase. And they're not too bad into elites, like they've got the mobility, so I'm not too surprised that a lot of people have switched to Void Dancer Troop. Then we have 3 Halfkin Salvagers. They're okay. Like, it's, well, once again, like the Jump Pack Warrior Alpha does quite well, so I can see why people would take them into elites. Then we've got 2 Mandrakes and 2 Commandos. Both of these teams play quite well into like maxing Gather Surveillance every game. So, you know, you get 9 points because you do 6 as your attack op and then make that your primary. So I was expecting a little bit more Commandos, but not too surprised, especially with all the elites around that they've gone down to 2. And then you've got 1 of everything else. So we've got 1 Imperial Navy Breachers, who I just salute. It's not great, guys. Death Corps of Krieg, as I said, the legendary Dakota. We've got 1 Angels of Death player. I was expecting maybe a little bit more. 1 is complete shock. We got 1 Hunter Clade, 1 Novitiates. So people may be shocked at why there's less Novitiates, and it's basically, I was talking to Novitiate players and they were like, they can't beat Plague Marines. Plague Marines just wall them. There's like Plague Marines, because Plague Marines pass out so much passive damage, it gets around their healing when they activate, so it's actually not really worth playing them. And considering a lot of the people who would have taken Novitiates ended up in pods with Plague Marines, seemed like a good move. Then you've got 1 Exaction Squad, 1 Elucidina Star Striders, 1 Hand of the Archon, which was quite surprising because especially if you hang around on like the online chats, a lot of people are bigging them up, saying like they're great elite counters. So I kind of would have expected more Hand of the Archon than Corsair Void Guard. Then we've got 1 Nemesis Claw. Also kind of could see why. They're not too great into other elites at the moment, but their main weakness is their tac op selection isn't great. 1 Tempestus Aquilans. I'm shocked we're even seeing 1. 1 Blades of Cain. Very surprised. And then 1 Wormblade, which I kind of would have expected 1 or 2. Wormblade I still think quite good, which people don't really, not respect, but underestimate. We have a lot of factions not represented, such as Vespid. But it's no Felgor. So the interesting thing is this is the 2nd World Championships in a row where we've had no Felgor Ravager. And it's not because they're bad, right? We had the same thing last year. The problem Chaos Cult and Commanders just kind of messed them up. This year, like literally, Felgor cannot be the Khorne Shrive Talon. The Khorne Shrive Talon just stands in front of the Felgor team and his knife just gets bigger with more goats that run onto it. So it's not like they're weak because I'll get into balance later, but it's just not all that it appears. And then finally, this is the spread of country players. So we've got 29 Americans, 11 people from the UK, although this is kind of confusing because people have submitted as the UK and England. So it's like, we don't know how that's actually been paired because technically they're different things. If they said I could have paired as the UK, I probably would have selected UK. So it's very weird because we've got like 3 people from the UK and then the rest in England. Because remember, the UK isn't just England. So then we've got, so technically we should have a separate one for England than the UK, but whatever. Then you've got 8 Canadians, 8 Australians, 7 Argentinians, and 7 Spain players. Everyone was kind of expecting a bit more Spain players, well, Spanish, but they apparently didn't get that many golden tickets, and it is quite costly for them to fly over. We've got 4 people from Chile. We've got 4 French players. We've got 3 Mexican players, 2 Colombian, 2 Uruguay players. Then we've got 1 from Peru, 1 from New Zealand, 1 from Poland, 1 from Germany, 1 from Italy, and 1 from Wales. So Wales isn't part of the UK anymore. So I don't know what happened. We had Wexit, I guess. Wales has left the United Kingdom. We've set sail for the wider ocean. It's great, you know, just riding my compatriots like across the ocean as we play Tom Jones. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Americans. Americans had the most tickets. In the UK, we had a lot. Technically, that's 12 UK tickets. So 12 UK. Well, I mean, not all of our tickets were won by the UK, but we have 12 UK players. And it's good we're seeing more Canadians this year. I think last year we only had 1 or 2 Canadians for Kill Team. Now we've got a lot more. 8 Australians, which was more than last year, because last year I think we only had 2. So now we've got 8. 7 Argentinians. I think last year they were 2 or 3 players. And then Spain, actually, I think is a little bit less. I think there were 8 or 9 Spanish players last year. It's definitely was more than 7. And then, you know, we've got 4 French people, which is really cool. And a nice spread from everywhere else. I can't go over everyone, like 4 from Chile and all of that. That's really cool. A nice spread, and it's growing every year. So hopefully next year we see more countries. And, you know, because there's been a lot of golden tickets, so hopefully more spread out. Obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if other players in the world won their tickets and then couldn't get over here because it's quite expensive, which all makes sense. Now, here we come to like the controversial part of the video where I personally don't think the World Championships of Warhammer is that competitive an event and how it should affect balance. Because famously last year, it was a really dark period of the game. Obviously, Hot Sauce Teddy had stopped doing stats, so we weren't having like publicly recorded stats of the game. And we kind of knew Commandos and Chaos Cult were like, more so Commandos, which is kind of busted. And then like, obviously Chaos Cult came first and second with Commandos coming third. And then what Games Workshop did was balance the game around Worlds, which led to a horrible meta. Because one of the things they ended up doing was balancing and buffing Felgor Ravager. And then when we actually did the stats and went back on the period where they buffed them, they were actually the best performing faction in the game in like 65%, like nearly 70, and then they got buffed. So hopefully when they see the results, I think the biggest litmus test you can check from this event, that the 3 most popular factions are literally just Legionary, Warp Covenant, Inquisitor agents, which shows how kind of messed up the game is. We didn't even have that kind of spread last year. It was way more spread across the selection of players. Like we have way like far fewer number of factions, which isn't really surprising, all considering the state of the meta, because it's really bad. Like I think it is worse than Custodes when Custodes launched the last edition, because at least you could kind of go, oh, there's just 1 or 2 Custodes players, they're going to win the event. Now you're like, oh, I hope I dodged the Warp Covenant, Legionary and Inquisitorial agent players. So that's a good thing to take from this event, but it's not really that competitive because a lot of people who won their tickets didn't actually win the events. So it's not to knock players, because it's like, it's more of a celebratory event. If you go there, it's more like you're playing for your country than you are playing for yourself. And then the other thing, the World Championship of Warhammer doesn't reflect normal Kill Team. I mean, if we didn't complain enough, we were going to be playing 4-hour rounds, and the most a tournament should be is 2-hour rounds. The fact we're playing 3-hour rounds is slightly better, but it's still not reflective of a normal game of Kill Team. I remember I literally played 2 4-hour games last year. I had a friend who played a 5-hour game of Kill Team. We also, when there's instances where they can't take draws, games will keep on playing. So we had 1 game go to turning point 7 last year and 1 game go to like turning point 11. So it's not really reflective of standard Kill Team. And I still think the most competitive events I've been to was stuff like Warhammer Fest, where we had like basically all the top European players there. And then also LVO of this year, 2024, because it was like literally the most players over 9 rounds with like a huge spread of balanced kill zones, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's going to be a good litmus test, but I wouldn't use it as the sole balancing guide, which is what I hope. It's still a really fun event, because if you go there, they do a really good, Game Social do a really good explanation of the event. It's like, obviously you're playing for your country, well, like you're trying to play to win, but you're actually playing and scoring points for your country no matter how well you do. And it's almost like you get team spirit points. So like if you're wearing team shirts, like if you're really supportive to everyone and your own teammates, and like, so it's all about like competing more than it is winning. And it makes sense once you're there. Like, it makes complete sense. But from the outside in, you wouldn't think it so much. But that's just my little spiel. So otherwise, for the World Championships of Warhammer Overview, I forgot to mention, I only just remembered now, please forgive me, I just finished work and I'm recovering from being sick. This will all be streamed on Squad Games on Twitch, so I'll put in the episode description, so you can watch that all live. They'll be streaming all 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and next week, so you can watch that all live. And it's fun. I think 93 players, way better than last year in terms of player number. Faction spread. Let's not talk about the faction spread. We don't need to talk. I've already done that. It's not great, right? Pod-wise, I'm very grateful as the only Legionary player in my pod, as already said. Everyone probably hates me in my pod because I am the Legionary player. I am the dunk in the pool, ruining the pool water. Shout outs to my friend Nick, who is in pod 4, which I believe is 5 Legionary, and like all the elites. He's just like, why? What is life? So it's going to be like, it's interesting. Like, what I like is seeing how these pods emerge, because there's no real way you can go like, the good thing I like is I look at each pod and go, there's no way, oh, that person's won, that person's won. Some pods are definitely easier than others, but that's like the luck. It's the mysteryness. Because the nice thing, you've got the ITC rankings, which really don't matter at the end of the day, but it's just nice to see compared to where people actually are. So it should be really fun. What am I expecting in the top 8? Legionary, War Coven, and Inquisitor agents. I do think we're going to get some dark horses, just because like there's lots of good players not playing those 3 main factions. I wouldn't be surprised to see Plague Marines make it into the top 8. Plague Marines are very, very good, and because they've literally come out a week ago, no one has enough proper practice into them. It's going to be interesting. Like, we're all playing on Volcus and Gallo Dark, so that might shake things up. We're going to be playing each mission like at least once, so we're going to have a nice spread. And there's other factors as well. Obviously, like there's jet lag in this kind of event, so if you're not really American, if you're not living in America or Canada, it's kind of like we're all kind of flying in the day before. So it's, you either have to like be well traveled, or just brave and just wing it. Winging it helps. It's in Atlanta, so but it should be fun. There's a nice spread. The Americans are spread out actually pretty evenly. The pod factions aren't spread out that evenly, but that's what makes it fun. That's where these stories happen from. Because last year, one of the biggest stories that came out of the World Championships of Warhammer was a Floridian man defeating the world #1 in pods in the round 1. So anything is possible. And I believe in New Mexico, something happened with Coke Zero, which led to an impossibly legendary situation. But that's the kind of thing, like, the best thing about the World Championship of Warhammer isn't actually who wins. Obviously, whoever wins is going to be very happy. But it's more like the stories you make. Like last year, I was running Halfkin Salvagers to honor the person who couldn't make it, who gave me their ticket, because they were going to run Halfkin Salvagers. I ended up being best Halfkin Salvagers because I was the only Halfkin Salvager, which was amazing. But that's that kind of cool thing. And there's all this camaraderie you can make. It's generally about making like friends, because part of the reason I travel a lot to America, it's not just because I love American food, which it's quite worrying, but it's like because of all the people I meet, and like I met a lot of cool people at the last World Championships of Warhammer. I can't wait to meet them all again. Like, you know, they do the country roll call at the start, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it should hopefully be quite chill. Like last year was pretty chill as well. There were some things, but there's always some things. It should be okay. It's really, really nice. Like, it's going to be really cool and a lot of fun. There's also other countries streaming. I believe Spain is also streaming the event, and then also Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, and Underworlds are happening at the same time. I think there's a preview show next week. Obviously, There's going to be a lot of content creators there. We'll try and do something when we're there. It's just like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Who's going to end up top dog? I don't know who. It's going to be so crazy. These pods are so tough. It's like, it literally depends who makes out our top 8 and then how they pair top 8. It's going to be wild. I kind of missed that last year was double elimination. I think it was like you had to go like undefeated in your pod. And then when you get to top 8, you had to go undefeated twice effectively. But if you lost, you're only out. You had to take 2 losses to dunk out. So it'll be quite, I kind of missed that, but I understand why they did it. So it's going to be cool. I think they're still finding their feet with the right format, but it should be fun. And it's in Atlanta again. Maybe next year it'll be somewhere else, but I doubt it. It's not a bad place to get to. Just be careful where you stay. I made some interesting choices last year, and I stayed mostly safe, but we'll see what happens. I was back last year, and I'll be back again. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. What do you think of the World Championships of Warhammer? And tell me, who do you think is going to win? Who's your money on? Who's going to win the World Championships of Warhammer? And you can even say what faction you think is going to win. I can make it a bit easier for that. Remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, an affiliate link and discount code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support, and I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Zombie Businessman, Tom, Supercow, Stephen, Sam, Professor, Nick, Mercenary Q, Mr. Meatwad, Lucas, John Thomas Graham, Fangzu, Draken, Dave Meatswell, Darcy, Dada Goldens, Chris, and then for my veterans of the crit, I have Samja and Mark. So thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. Yeah, so this video has been a bit delayed. I'm still recovering from, I'm pretty sure I had COVID. Feeling a bit better now. I'm actually recording this video at just before 11 p.m. It's just about to finish, and I've got work the next day. So sorry it didn't come out on Thursday. I'm really looking forward to the World Championships of Warhammer. I was going to do this video next week, but I was like, enough cool information came out today, and it's basically thanks to Sawyer, who compiled everything. He did a really great job and made it clear, and I just wanted to like break it down for you guys. Because I'll obviously do my post-Worlds video, do some crazy stuff. I'm going to have fun with my Legionary. Obviously Legionary are really, really good, and I would love to win. But my Legionary I'm just having a lot of fun with. While their time lasts, they are very broken, and I don't expect them to stand in that way. If Worlds was like, I kind of wish we had more time for Worlds, because I probably would have brought a higher tech circle. But considering like a lot more people brought higher tech circle than I anticipated, kind of glad I didn't, especially as I'm the only Legionary in the village. But remember, no matter who you're paired to in the World Championships of Warhammer, there's always a chance to win, as long as you can roll a crit.